Hannah always felt like she didn't quite belong, not because she stood out in a crowd, but because her heart saw things others missed. She lived in a small Tennessee town, in a modest house just beyond the local diner, where fireflies danced at dusk and the air carried whispers of something holy. Everyone knew her as the quiet barista who poured coffee with a warm smile, but no one saw the weight she carried inside. Hannah had visions, flashes of truth, dreams that felt alive, moments that spoke louder than words. She didn't share them often. When she tried, people grew silent, eyes shifted, or someone coughed and changed the topic. So Hannah learned to hold her gift close. But the visions never faded. They grew brighter, stronger, calling her to a purpose she couldn't ignore. If you ever felt something no one else noticed or seen a moment before it happened, this story is for you. Stay with me, because heaven might be calling your name too. Since she was a little girl, Hannah woke from dreams that felt more solid than her own life. She'd see places she'd never visited, hear voices calling names she didn't know, feel moments that burned like a candle in her mind. At 8 years old, she dreamed of a barn glowing under a stormy sky, flames licking the wood but never touching her. A week later, the news reported a fire at a farm down the road. Same barn, same storm. She told her grandma, who only squeezed her hand and said, "Child, your eyes see what God shows." At school, kids talked about movies and games, but Hannah saw colors around people, blues, golds, grays, that told stories no one else could read. When she tried to explain, they giggled and called her weird, so she stopped talking. But the dreams didn't stop. She'd walk into a room and feel joy or sorrow before anyone spoke. She'd pray, and faces would flash in her mind, people she'd meet days later. Hannah wanted to be like everyone else, to blend in, but her spirit wouldn't let her. Now, at 35, standing in her kitchen with a steaming cup of coffee, she catches her reflection in the window. It's not her face she sees. It's the girl who begged God to take the visions away. And in that quiet moment, a voice deeper than her thought speaks. "I gave you eyes to see my truth. You're not odd. You're mine." If you've ever felt different, keep listening. Your story might be written in heaven. Hannah's house sat at the edge of town, where the streetlights faded and the trees stood like silent guards. She worked at the local coffee shop, serving lattes, smiling politely. But inside, her soul was restless. Every night, when the world went quiet, her spirit came alive. Dreams brought messages, warnings, glimpses, truths wrapped in light. When she was 12, she dreamed her neighbor would fall sick in a blue coat. A month later, it happened, and just as she saw. At the hospital, Hannah felt guilt, not sadness. "Why show me if I can't fix it?" she asked God. That question followed her, echoing in church pews in quiet moments, in the pages of her notebooks. She tried to call it luck, tried to fit in, but her heart refused. She could still feel the warmth of a vision from years ago, smell the flowers from a dream that hadn't happened yet, see the eyes of strangers she'd meet someday. At 35, the visions grew bolder. Hannah faced a choice: hide her gift or embrace it. She opened a box under her bed filled with old journals, sketches, dreams, names, dates. Some had come true, others waited. One page, written years ago, stopped her cold. "You see, because I chose you." Hannah's heart raced. She wasn't broken. She was called. As Psalm 139:16 says, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." God had a plan, and Hannah was ready to follow. Hannah never set an alarm. Most mornings, she woke at 3:11 a.m., not from noise, but from a holy nudge. Her house was still, her dog curled at her feet, moonlight painting the walls. But inside, her spirit stirred. One night, it was different. She fell asleep with a prayer. God, if you're speaking, let me hear. And he did. In a dream, she stood on a quiet street, glowing with golden light. The air shimmered, the trees bowed, and in the center, a boy stood, crying, surrounded by a flood of light, not water. Hannah reached for him, but her feet floated. A voice spoke, not loud, but deep. This is not chaos. This is a call. Warn them. She woke, heart pounding, and scribbled it down. Flood, boy, light, warn them. 3 weeks later, the news flashed. Flash flood warning for Carter County. Main Street at risk. Hannah's breath caught. The flood came just as she saw. No one was hurt, but a photo showed a boy being rescued. Same face, same shirt from her dream. That night, Hannah stood outside, barefoot in the damp grass, and whispered, God, what do you want from me? The answer came like a breeze. You see to prepare, not to perform. You're my voice. Hannah wasn't imagining it. She was chosen. If you've dreamed something that came true, don't stop watching. Heaven speaking. Hannah's prayers were her refuge. Not loud or fancy, but soft, honest like a whisper to a friend. She turned a closet into her prayer space, filled with notes, Bible verses, and a candle that flickered like it knew God's heart. One morning she prayed for her brother Caleb, who'd grown distant, lost in his own battles. As she whispered his name, her eyes closed, and she saw it. A black car spinning on a wet road, crashing, then silence. She gasped, heart racing. Was it real? She wrote it down. Black car, crash, 1:47 p.m. pray. That evening, Caleb called, his voice shaky. Hannah, I skidded on the highway today. My car's totaled, but I'm okay. It was 1:47. Hannah's knees buckled. She hadn't just seen danger, she'd prayed it away. From then on, her prayers changed. They weren't just words, they were windows. She saw strangers, a woman in a park, a man in a store, faces God showed her. She prayed and answers came. If you pray, I'll show you, God whispered. If you see, act. Hannah wasn't a preacher. She was a listener, carrying God's light into dark places. If you felt a prayer answered in a way you can't explain, keep going. You're part of something bigger. Hannah always sensed people before they spoke. It wasn't mind reading, it was heart seeing. She felt joy, pain, or secrets in the air around them. One day at a diner with her friend Mia, she felt it. Mia laughed and joked, but Hannah saw a shadow, like sadness hiding behind a smile. She took a deep breath and said, Mia, God sees you. You don't have to hide. Mia's smile faded and tears fell. I was going to give up tonight, she whispered. But you saw me. Hannah's heart pounded. Her gift wasn't to judge, it was to save. From then on, she trusted what she felt. She saw hope in tired eyes, battles behind kind smiles. It was heavy, sometimes too much. But God reminded her, you're not their hero, you're my voice. Hannah prayed for each person she sensed, carrying their light, not their load. As Matthew 5:16 says, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. If you felt someone's pain without a word, you're not alone. You're called to shine. Some places spoke to Hannah's spirit. A cozy bookstore felt like peace. A crowded mall felt heavy, like hidden sorrow. One Sunday in a packed church, she felt it. Grief hiding under joyful songs. Her eyes landed on a woman in the back, head bowed, silent. God whispered, go to her. Hannah hesitated but obeyed. She sat beside her and said, God hears you, even now. The woman cried, her shoulders shaking. She didn't explain and Hannah didn't ask. The air had spoken and she'd listened. From then on, Hannah felt rooms differently. A park bench carried fear. A friend's house needed prayer. She wasn't paranoid, she was awake. She carried a small bottle of oil, anointing doors, praying quietly. She wasn't chasing attention, she was chasing obedience. When you feel a place shift, it's not random. It's a call to act. If you sense something others miss, don't ignore it. God's trusting you to respond. Hannah's journals were her proof. Pages filled with dreams, dates, sketches. Some already true, others waiting. One entry from years ago read, "Fire, a shop, a man in a blue hat, number 15. She'd forgotten it until the news showed a fire on 15th Street. A man in a blue hat saved. Another page described a girl on a train crying with the word Memphis. Months later, she met her, a runaway from Memphis needing help. Each vision was a step, a trust. Hannah carried a notebook now, writing what God showed her. When a vision came true, she didn't feel proud. She felt humbled. Seeing wasn't power, it was purpose. She asked, "What now, God?" And he answered, "Pray, prepare, speak when I say." Her visions weren't for show, they were for saving. If you've seen something before it happened, you're not crazy, you're chosen. Sometimes a name or a word hit Hannah like a spark. One night, brushing her hair, she felt it. "Tell Lauren she's enough." Lauren was a co-worker she barely knew. She hesitated. What if it's weird? But the urge wouldn't fade. At 11:32 p.m., she texted, "Lauren, God says you're enough. Keep going." An hour later, Lauren replied, "I was at my breaking point tonight. Your message saved me." Hannah cried, not from pride, but from awe. The urge wasn't random. It was God's voice. She felt it at the store, at work, even with strangers. Once she told a man, "Your daughter's okay." He gasped. His daughter was in surgery. Hannah didn't explain. She obeyed. Sometimes people ignored her words and it hurt. But she kept speaking when God nudged her. Obedience mattered more than comfort. If you felt a push to speak, don't hold back. Heaven's counting on you. One evening, Hannah walked a trail near her house, the sun casting golden light. She prayed quietly, "God, I'm here." Then it happened. The air shimmered, the world stilled, and she saw them, figures of light, tall and radiant, like angels. One raised a hand, not in greeting, but in purpose. Hannah fell to her knees, breathless. This wasn't a dream. It was real, awake, undeniable. When it faded, she knew she'd crossed the line. She wasn't just a dreamer, she was a seer. That night she wrote, "I saw heaven's truth today. I'm not imagining it. I'm called." Hannah didn't chase fame. She chased God's will. If you've seen what others can't, you're not alone. You're marked for a mission. Hannah's story isn't just hers, it's yours. The dreams, the feelings, the moments you can't explain, they're not mistakes, they're your calling. You're not too much, not broken, not imagining things. You're chosen because you see what heaven shows. Your visions are God's strategy. Your sensitivity is strength. Don't hide. Embrace it. Keep a journal, pray, listen. Speak when he says, you're part of heaven's plan. Comment below, "I see what heaven shows me." To stand with others who feel this truth. If God nudges you to share this story, do it. The world needs seers, dreamers, and voices for his glory. You're not just awake, you're alive in his purpose.